Well, hey there, everybody. Rhonda Boyle here. I am your community leader of SOAR Online. I'm certainly happy to have you here today. And if you're watching on the replay, welcome. And I'm delighted to introduce you to Clint Carlos. He is one of the co-founders of SOAR.com and the CRO, and he is here to talk about lead generation, which is something all coaches need to be doing, and we're all doing it. It's just how are we doing it, and what are the most effective ways to do so. So, Clint Carlos, good to have you. Say hey to
Great to be here. Yeah, I recognize some of the names and faces. Hi, Aaron, and I see Alan and Noreen and Sharon. I don't think we've met Nate or Don or Elizabeth. Good to see you, Noreen. So it's great to be here. You know, this is, Ron asked me to join and just spend an hour kind of doing an introduction to lead generation. And so that's what we've kind of prepared, just a high level overview of some best practices in coach lead gen, specifically around what I think is the hot topic of the day, and that is building marketing funnels that consistently deliver your ideal clients. Some of you, I see at least two of you are already in our current boot camp, which is a much more robust, and they can probably attest to this, three of you, I guess, including Rhonda, a much more robust and intensive program where you will build a robust funnel to consistently deliver leads. It's a lot of work. It's, Sharon, what do you think? Is it about a 10-hour-a-week commitment? And it forces you to rethink a lot of things, right? So starting back at the beginning, and I think that's a very healthy activity. It's a very healthy thing to undertake. Alan, I see you there on camera. Would you agree? It's been pretty intense process the first 3 weeks of your bootcamp experience. And so today is going to be a much lighter version. I am going to borrow a few of the concepts from our bootcamp curriculum, which I think will be helpful for you. But this comes from years of experience from folks on our team, from our own experiments building funnels, from having built funnels for companies that I've grown and founded in the past, from having worked with literally over 700 coaches personally in the last year that I've spent one-on-one time with, helping them, refine their audience, helping them, generate leads, build profiles, and really stand out for clients. So what you're going to learn today is kind of a summary and just stealing of some of those highlights and takeaways, and with the hope that this sparks some new thinking in you and helps you reevaluate some of the processes and assumptions that you have today in generating new client demand. So that will be the goal for today. We want this to be interactive, so feel free to unmute yourself at any time, jump in with questions. I'm going to share a few slides. We're going to jump to the web and walk through a few examples time to time. So just so that you know what's ahead. And Rhonda, we've got an hour planned today, right?
We do. We're here to learn, sir.
Awesome. So those of you, and always would love to see your face, put a face to the name. If you feel comfortable turning on your cameras, would welcome that. It always helps me kind of have some visual feedback on what you're feeling and learning and experiencing. For those of you
might see confusion on our faces, Clint, I'm going to say.
We'll try to keep it really simple. But from maybe a show of, thumbs up or thumbs down, how many of you are getting the volume of leads you need today to have sustainable income? Okay, so everyone's on the right call. How many of you have taken the time to calculate how many leads you need to have sustainable, thriving income? Okay, good job, Sharon. I see one thumb up.
Most of us are in the same place.
So that's a whole nother exercise. We ought to do one on that, Rhonda. Just calculate, like helping coaches think about the financial model of their business, because most coaches I talk to haven't done that yet, right? And if you don't know, and if you take that a step further, so not just leads, but how many clients do you need every month to thrive as a coach? Because, if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that your ability to help others really rests on the foundation that you yourself are well. And your own wellness, your own ability to thrive will greatly influence your impact and success as a coach. And we're all in this to change lives and to help others and to help them transform their lives and their companies and their careers and any other aspect, their family that they're working on. But until we can thrive as coaches and those serving them, it's going to be it's going to place a limit on your ability to connect and create that impact. So that's why SOAR'S in business. We're in business to help thousands of coaches thrive so that you can touch millions of lives. Our goal is eventually to help coaches reach 1 billion lives. And so that's why, after a year of helping coaches build profiles on SOAR'S and on SOAR and refine your business model, we've started to create training, informal training like this, formal training like our boot camp, which we'll mention just briefly today, to help you along that path. Most of you are new to entrepreneurship, and you might not even think of yourself as an entrepreneur. You think of yourself as a coach, a consultant, a facilitator, someone who helps people. But to succeed at that, you've got to start thinking about yourself as an entrepreneur. And for most of you, that means you're a solopreneur. I've been an entrepreneur almost my entire career, other than the 6 years I spent at Gallup leading large global consulting engagements. And the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is you've got to kind of be a jack of all trades. And you're also on an island most of the time. You don't have a peer group. You don't have resources to lean on. You find yourself doing a lot yourself. And while that's, very common, there is an opportunity for coaches, I think, when you get the foundation built that can generate leads, when you become part of a community, when you leverage outside expertise to not have to wear all the hats in your company and to be able to lean on others and solutions and technology to do those things so that you can focus on what you do best and what you love to do. And that's helping transform lives. We all good on the same page here?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to jump into a screen share. Okay. Does everyone see my screen? Awesome. So since we've mentioned the boot camp and several of you are in the boot camp, I'm just going to share a couple of differences between today, the boot camp, and what else SOAR does. Here we go. SOAR'S Bootcamp, for those of you that haven't heard about it, it's a 13-week intensive training. And those on this call have attested. It's the real deal. It takes some work, takes rolling up your sleeves. We think that's about as fast as we can help you build a successful client funnel so that you're consistently getting leads. Over the course of the program, you'll have faculty-led sessions. Nora Sudas is our bootcamp dean, I guess you could call her. She created ClickFunnels Academy, which is a much broader marketing funnels academy. She built it for ClickFunnels, which is the top marketing company in the world for online marketing. Russell Brunson is the founder. Nora is a true expert. After leaving ClickFunnels, she began to focus on coaches because she just grew attached to that mission. So we've recruited her. She's now a member of the SOAR team, and she leads our boot camp. Sometimes I'll help co-facilitate her, Paul, but she's just fantastic. The content you're getting is world-class content tailored to coaches. You also get to learn from top coaches around the world. Just yesterday, or I guess today's Friday already, geez, Wednesday, we had Michael Daphne join us. Michael is really a world-class coach. He coaches C-level executives at Fortune 500 companies and senior government leaders in places like Afghanistan and all over Africa, all over the world. And he shared, his lessons learned from having been a coach for 15 years so that those folks in our boot camp can learn from those lessons and have a chance to engage Michael and leverage his expertise and be mentored by him. Participants get one-on-one weekly coaching to make sure that they're making progress. They've got an accountability partner and they've got a thinking partner so that as they're processing the material, they make sure that they stay on the charted course. And then probably the most valuable aspect is our marketing implementation support. So our team of marketers will build your funnels. The groundwork is important for you to do so that you really clearly understand your target audience and where you're going with this. But once we know that and we can work with you, we'll build landing pages, we'll build ads, we'll find free lead sources, and we'll start driving people through your funnel and make sure that the systems, the technology is up and running to support it. So if bootcamp, if you don't have time for bootcamp, if it's not for you, we do offer a one-on-one funnel building service that goes much more in depth. So if what you learned today, you feel like you're great, you can run with it, then awesome. I'm here, happy to be a sounding board for any advice or support you need. But if you want hands-on help building your funnel, then just let me know and we can take a much deeper perspective here. So what is a funnel? Some of you on this call probably have never built a funnel before. But a funnel is simply a visual representation of the path that your clients take to discover that you exist, that you might be able to help them with whatever they're challenged with or break through whatever barriers they have. And so it's taking them from that process of becoming aware, so looking, right, learning about you, and then buying your services. And this is a really simplified way to think about this, but that's what a funnel is. Now, in today's world, there are literally hundreds of technology platforms and applications and tools and resources that people use when they think of funnels. These are automation systems, they're ad platforms, they're web page resources, they're chatbots, they're webinar tools, they're video solutions. There's an infinite number of combinations. We help to simplify that. And if you think about it really simply in terms of who are the people looking into you, who are the people learning really about your service, and who are the people buying from you, then you'll have much better clarity and you won't get lost in the broader ecosystem. So the first big takeaway in your funnel, in building your funnel, building a reliable stream of clients, is to know who your niche is. We call this your avatar. We encourage you to go so specific. There you are, Aaron.
I've been dethroned.
Yeah, you've dethroned Rhonda in the top position. That's based on the number of reviews you have, so that's terrific. Your avatar is a persona. So in marketing, I've taken dozens of marketing courses in my life, but many of you probably have never had a real marketing class. In marketing, the first thing you learn is to build a persona. That is like a character who represents your target audience. You're encouraged to put a name to that person, really dig in and say, okay, who is this person that represents 1,000 others that you could serve? And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you drill down and get specific with that. So there's three categories that you need to really understand about your target audience, okay? When you go beyond, I skipped a couple slides here because I think some of you have seen that or we've been through it. Obviously, we all go through the exercise of saying, okay, what type of coach am I? Am I an executive coach? Am I a career coach? Am I a life coach? Am I a wellness coach? Am I, an education coach, family coach, small business coach, trainer, consultant? There's a lot of different things. But from that point, then, we'd encourage you to say, okay, well, who is the individual participating in that? Are they in a large company or a small company? Are they in a specific industry or location? What stage of their career? What are their pain points? What are they dealing with? And so as you get more narrow, you're going to want to focus on these three categories. What are their demographics? So if you're a career coach and you like working with mid-career women who are balancing life and work-life balance, they've got maybe kids, or maybe your ideal client is somebody who's divorced, then those would be demographics, right? And that's typically as far as someone goes in determining their avatar. But we'd encourage you to take it 2 steps deeper. The second thing to think about is, what are their psychographics? So when they discover you at that moment in time, what are their beliefs? What's their attitude? What's their mindset? What are their false beliefs, right? So to give you an example, if I'm working with a, ambitious mid-career female executive who's trying to get to the next level, does she believe there's a glass ceiling or not? Right? Knowing that changes the way you message to that person, changes the value you offer that person, and changes their pathway and learning about and hiring you as their coach. Deep emotional triggers is where it starts to get really powerful. Let's go back to the career coach example. If your potential client is someone who's recently been laid off, what are their emotional triggers? What really drives them? When they get on a job board or on LinkedIn, are they pissed off? Right? Are they, is revenge a deep emotional trigger? Maybe, right? Or maybe it's to one up. Maybe they're really competitive. Maybe they want to be the absolute best. So they want to one up people. That's a deep emotional trigger. Unless you understand that about your client, it's really hard to build a compelling offer that will bring them to you. So those are some things to think about. When we talk about demographics, these are some of the different ways to think about it. I like to include, I love this one for some reason, pet ownership. Nobody thinks about that, but if you are getting someone to subscribe to your newsletter and you like love your dog and you're always mentioning your dog or referencing your dog, and your person's like super anti-pet ownership, your messaging is going to be totally irrelevant. But if you find out that your target audience tends to be like you, they love their pet, then you want to relate to them in that way and interject those personal touch points that connect. So that's kind of an off-the-wall connection, but I think those are the examples of how specific you need to get with identifying your target audience. Psychographics. How do they self-identify? What are their concerns? What are their fears? What are their hobbies? So these are some examples to be thinking about. And then these deep emotional triggers. We mentioned revenge, wanting to one-up or outdo others. What about control? If you're dealing with someone who control is really important, how does that change the way that you describe the structure of your service, right? Instead of saying, I'll take care of everything, I'm your coach, let me guide the show, you might say, you're in control of your learning. You're in control of your process. Well, those two messages might really work with two different audiences. And so you got to know which mindset your audience is in. Any questions about this? So how do you find this out, right? I get this question all the time. Well, I don't know that level of depth. Well, pick a client that you can think of. Pick a client that you've worked with or someone that you'd love to work with that you think you'd have great impact, and start to build a persona around them. Go research them, interview them. Ask them, what's something that you shopped for online recently? Or what's something you Googled today, right? Then that can take you down a whole series of learning where you find out, are people in your target audience shopping for purses online? Or are they buying books on Amazon? What categories of books are they buying? Does it relate to what you have to offer? What are the reviews for those products that they're buying that other people might be buying that could give you insight into the mindset and needs and demands of other people in your target audience? Going and reading blogs and the comments in blogs is great. So if you have a competitor that you discover that's blogging a lot or posting videos a lot or active on social media, go follow them, see what their customers or their followers are saying in response. That will give you great insight into the pain points, the concerns, the frustrations, and also the interests of your target audience. I'll skip over the Facebook analytics because that's getting a little technical. But when you think about your client,
thank you.
Think about what are they looking for? This is a representation. So we ran a report to see, and this is maybe about a year old, but I would guess that the data probably hasn't changed. Each line on this graph represents search volume. So how many people every day are searching that keyword? So for therapists, which is in blue, almost 100 people every day, and this is to a specific geography, are searching for a therapist. But when you get into executive coach, life coach, and strengths coach, it's almost non-existent. But life coach is like 10 times higher than strengths coach or executive coach. Well, this is relevant, right? Because if your potential clients are looking for a therapist or a life coach, and you're marketing yourself as a strengths coach, then you're not going to have a whole lot of success with them finding you based on those keywords. It also tells you a little bit about their mindset when they're actively looking for a solution. Here's the difference between life coaches and strengths coach or Gallup coach. Huge discrepancy. It's like, 50-to-1 ratio. So many more people searching for life coach. So you're going to learn a lot when you do your avatar research, but obviously some of them are what pain points do they have? What kind of messaging is going to resonate? What kind of value they're looking for? Once you know their pain points, you know what they're trying to solve, you can then re-engineer your service offering to make sure that your value aligns with their needs. The other big one, the last point here, is the idea of who you're omitting, right? Once you know who you serve, you've got to be really strong about who you don't serve. And that's oftentimes a hard thing to kind of own as a coach that's just looking to grow your business. But knowing who you don't serve gives you so much freedom and clarity and focus. And it helps you avoid those pitfalls where you might be writing a marketing email or doing a post on social media, and you'll be tempted to overgeneralize that content because you'll be thinking, ooh, I don't want to leave this person out. But if you've already decided to leave that person out, you have now the freedom to be really specific in your messaging, knowing who you are targeting and who you're not. Okay, so the next kind of major concept we're going to talk about is identifying your competitive advantage. When you think about, no matter where you're at in the world, there's always going to be something else that people can do if they don't hire you, right? The biggest competitor is status quo, which means they continue to just do nothing. But there are competitors out there to be aware of. It might be courses on Udemy. It might be TED Talks. It might be books that they read or blogs that they subscribe to or other coaches. But one of the big ways that you're going to be able to know your differentiation and customize your unique value is by spending the time and effort to research what else is out there and figure out, ask all of your clients, what books are you reading? What blogs do you subscribe to? What speakers do you listen to, right? Those are alternatives that they're actively influenced by every day. And knowing how you fit into that puzzle will be really important. How many of you, show of hands, a thumbs up, thumbs down, have heard of what a blue ocean is? So there's a couple of books on blue ocean strategy. You don't need to go buy the books or read them. It's basically the idea that as you enter a marketplace, let's say that anyone creates a marketplace. At one point, there was some person in the world who became the first coach, right? Outside of the sports world. That person was operating in a totally blue ocean. There was no one else fishing those waters. Then other people started to see, oh, they're making money doing this. This is a legitimate thing. I'm going to enter in and I can do this too. And then thousands, tens of thousands of people began to do that. So that water became a red ocean, right? There's sharks in the water. There's fierce competition all going after the same prey, right? And so what you started to see was, okay, well, people said, well, I'm not just going to be a coach. I'm going to be an executive coach. And so for a short time, that was a blue ocean, right? They're the only executive coach in that area. And then someone said, I'm going to be a health or wellness coach. And so that was a blue ocean. But then over time, more people say, oh, I'm going to be a health and wellness coach. I'm going to be an executive coach. And so with each new wave of people adopting or going after a market, that creates a new red ocean. And so your prerogative as a coach is to go find a new blue ocean. So if your previous focus was executive coaching, maybe your new focus is executive coaching for, people within the tech industry, right? And then as that starts to get flooded, maybe it's executives within the tech industry who, are at the last 5 years of their career, right? So that now all of a sudden that's blue ocean because you're the only one really specializing in that area. So that's the concept of the blue ocean strategy. And it's worth thinking about in the context of how you fit in the marketplace. Here's an example. If the original kind of coaching market was wealth coaching and that, and there was one coach and then many coaches, then they started to segment into career coaching, marketing coaching, real estate coaching. And those are just 3 examples. Could easily be, financial planning and other things. But then from real estate, right, there's now new niches for coaching. If you want to be a house flipper, if you want to do vacation rentals, if you want to do property management. So this is kind of the flow from red ocean to blue ocean to be aware of and know that, the ground under you is always moving, and it's important to kind of always analyze where you fit in this market. Now, you don't have to find a pond where there is no one else doing it, but you don't want to be in a pond, fishing in a pond where there's thousands of people actively competing. So there's kind of a nice balance between an established market and not too much competition. This might be one example of drilling down even further, right? So if the top of the pyramid is your red ocean, and that's just wealth coaching, a broad category, then you might say, okay, career coaching is the next level of drill down, and it's getting a little bluer, but you can see it's still pretty red. Career coaching is probably the biggest sector of coaching right now, but there's also tens of thousands of career coaches competing. So if you say, okay, well, I'm going to focus on personal branding within career coaching, well, that's getting a little bit better, but there's still going to be a lot of competition. Okay, I'm going to further narrow that to executives. So I'm going to omit mid-career people. I'm going to omit higher education or recent grads. So now I'm just focused on executives. And then as that water starts to get crowded, okay, now I'm going to focus even further on the tech industry. So tech execs, I'm going to help them with their personal branding in the career coaching space as a niche within wealth coaching. Most coaches I talk to have said, okay, I'm a career coach, or I'm an executive coach, or I'm an education coach, or I'm a faith coach or a family coach. But very few have said, I'm a coach of tech executives for personal branding in their careers. So you can see the difference, and you can see why this will influence the way you generate leads, because once you've gone to this level of specificity, you now have a laser focus on where your message needs to go. Where do tech executives who need help with their personal brand for their career progression, where do they spend time? What are they searching for online? What are they reading? It becomes much clearer, and you can avoid that kind of shotgun approach of just throwing messaging out there and seeing what sticks. So the next big takeaway that we're going to talk about today is you've got to create an irresistible offer. So this is not your primary service offering. If you're a coach, let's say you're a career coach, and your bread and butter package is a 3-month, $2,500 career coaching solution that includes every other week calls. That's not what this is. This is the hook. This is that thing that brings people in the door. This is that thing that takes someone who's never thought of hiring a career coach, or maybe has thought about it but doesn't know that's what they need. And this is creating an offer so compelling that they want to start to interact with you. So it's like a magnet, getting them in the door so that you can start to have the conversation. This is something that many coaches haven't taken the time to build yet. Almost every coach knows they've got 2 or 3 offerings, right? So I've got a training offering, I've got a coaching package, I've got a simpler coaching package, I've got a group coaching package. Okay, I've got those. But this is the missing piece to get a lot of people in the door. I'll show you a couple of examples of this. The second aspect.
I want to just interject here. What I think most coaches are doing, Clint, is they're out hunting themselves for the business. So there's nothing attracting their client. It's only outreach. It's
Right.
not inbound coming automatically. And I think that's like wrapping our mind around the possibility of that, but then how to do it.
Right. Huge distinction, right?
Mm-hmm.
What most coaches do is push. So they
Push
send
marketing.
messages, they push content on social, they go networking, they give out business cards, they follow up. That's all push. This is pull marketing. So putting bait out there that attracts and draws people in is an important first step in building your lead generation strategy. The second thing to be aware of is that you need to understand the way a value ladder works. This is simple. There's kind of an unspoken contract between people in the marketplace. And it's this: I, as a consumer, am willing to give something as long as the value I'm getting back exceeds what I'm giving, right? We all kind of think that way. We shop that way, right? We look at the world that way, but we don't always craft our offers that way. We don't always build messaging that way. So if you're going to ask a client to engage with you, to subscribe to your newsletter, to visit your website, to give you their contact information, or to attend a webinar, your promise to them in an unwritten contract is that you're going to give them more value at that step than the time and resources that they give back. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about how to some basics on how to create an offer. But here's some examples of customer bait. How many of you have written a book or an ebook?
Me.
So that's one common example. Video training is another common example. Download this case study. You've all seen that, right? Get free access to this case study. That's bait. Now, your target audience, your avatar, is going to be attracted to some of these much more than others. For some potential clients, the idea of downloading a case study is like going to the dentist. Why would I ever want a case study? I'm not in school right now, right?
Yawn material.
Just because you think something is compelling or valuable doesn't mean your clients do.
Right.
Quizzes or surveys. So I love this one. This is a way for them to go to a website, follow a link, click on a text message, answer a couple questions. They learn something about themselves through that experience, and you get permission to stay connected to them. People love learning about themselves. That's why everyone takes, that's why there's 21 million people have taken StrengthsFinder. That's why people go take love language quizzes and Enneagram, and they love learning about themselves. So a quiz or a survey that gives them more insight to themselves or their partner or their whatever, great bait.
I love the one's on BuzzFeed. What kind of mermaid are you today?
Right? I mean, that is some serious bait. I mean, and then you see people post them on social media, and it's like, well, now I have to know what it is. So that's an example of viral engineering, right? So once one person knows about it, how do you make it compelling so that other people have to know about it? But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Swipe files. Chris Hines, who started Monye last year, he created icons for each of the 34 strengths. That's a swipe file. He got told later by Gallup he had to take him down and issue an apology because it wasn't Gallup licensed content, but that's an example of a swipe file. So offering something people can take and use in their daily life or in their business in exchange for whatever you ask of them. So you get the picture here, right? DVDs, CDs, this used to be all the rave. It's kind of old school now. But sometimes pulling something out that's old school is like a nice, refreshing feeling for your clients because they're like, oh, this takes me back. And they're nostalgic about some memory tied to that. Audio recordings or podcasts are other good examples. Physical products, offering them a mug or a shirt or, I've got a coach in San Francisco. He creates this book of thank you cards. They're like postcards, and there's 120 different ways to say thank you. He gives that to anyone who comes in his funnel. So they submit it, they get shipped a box of thank you cards. It's got his branding on it. So all those people, and it gets all over the place, but they like that. So those are some examples. here's the 7 criteria to think about. One, it's got to be really specific, right? So if you say, the most common free offer that coaches give is a discovery session, right? Clients don't know what a discovery session is. They don't know how long it's going to take. They don't know what they're going to get out of it. They don't know what they're going to need to prepare for to do that. If you're going to do a discovery session as maybe a customer bait, be really specific about, this is going to be 20 minutes. You're going to learn these 3 things. Here's what you're going to walk away with. And by the way, I'm not going to sell you anything, right? So the specificity, one big promise. So that is not the feature, right? Not a description of what it is you're giving them or they're buying. These don't have to be free, by the way. But what do they get out of it? What's in it for them, right? What's the benefit? Does it address a known desired result or benefit that they're looking for? And you will know that if you've done your avatar research. But if you're just guessing, then this might be misaligned. It's got to be easy to consume. So if this requires 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, I've got to go to different sites, I've got to put in too much information or give too much away, forget about it. You're going to lose people. We already talked a little bit about value. Value means that what you give them offers more benefits to them than the time and investment and risk of participating in your offer. Risk meaning they know every time they give their email address somewhere, they're at risk of that email address getting plastered all over the website, getting spammed, getting marketed, their time getting eaten up, might even be more at risk of being hacked as a result. So they're submitting themselves to a little bit of risk. So you got to make sure your value exceeds that. Immediate gratification. Now, as coaches, we often teach and coach to delayed gratification, but we have to accept the fact that most people online looking and researching things, or even at conferences or other places where you might be generating leads, they're going to be much more likely to act if what they get in return is immediate. The other thing that's great about customer bait is you can frame in their minds what to expect next, right? And you should. So if you create a form, I've seen some really terrible funnels, right? I saw an ad on LinkedIn and I didn't know anything about it. I don't know why they targeted me. I clicked on it because I like to click on ads and assess other people's funnels and marketing. So I click on this ad, I go to this page. It tells me like 3 short lines about what this is, and I've got virtually no context and no value. And then it's got this form for me to fill out, and every field is required. First name, last name, social security number. No, just kidding.
Forget
it.
I'm
like email address, phone number, zip code, I'm like, why would I give you all this information, put myself at risk? And then for what? They didn't even frame what I'd get out of it. I later figured out that I would get to download a PDF. Not real appealing to me, right? So anyways, just things to think about. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's a value ladder? We talked earlier about the difference between your standard service offerings and your customer bait, right? But on that journey, keep in mind that, clients are like lobsters. You got to slow cook them, okay? Or they're going to jump out of the pot. So, building in value where they can start to digest your content, receive value, build trust, learn of your credibility one step at a time really is the difference between someone, it's like dating, right? You don't ask someone to marry you on a first date. I mean, at least very few people do. I have heard of it, but it's a little creepy, right? But most of the time, coaches are asking clients to hire them the first time they meet or the second time they meet. You go have a coffee networking meetup, and it's like, okay, great. Well, here's, tell me your problems. And then we have a great conversation, start to build trust. And then that all falls apart when I say, well, great, I'd love to coach you. I've got a 3-month package that costs $3,000. Whoa, you just lost me. I went from having a great date to, being really like put off by what you're asking me for. And so a value ladder is offering tools, resources, guidance, and value in incremental increasing steps along the way. So let me give you an example of this. if product 5 on this diagram is your coaching, one-on-one coaching, right? Product 4 might be a masterclass. So lower price point, right? Not as much one-on-one effort, easier to consume maybe, and maybe not as intimidating. I've got peers in the group. Oh, this is gonna be kind of fun. I'll experiment it. Okay, so what might come before a masterclass?
Maybe a 3-day video training.
Video training, right? Or even video on demand, like an e-course, right? They can consume or access stuff. Okay, what might come before that? An ebook, right? Or a webinar, or
a worksheet of some kind.
A worksheet, right? And then product 1 might be, hey, let me send you to a survey or a quiz, right? Let's just start to explore what your priorities are. So see how that value steps up, and it becomes a real journey for clients, because these would be the steps in the funnel for a client to discover and engage with you. And almost no coaches that I talk to have products 1 through 4. Almost all of them know what product 5 looks like, and they might have a couple different options for product 5. By the way, there can be multiple options for each product step here. But
well, the other experience I've had, Clint, is that they have not just product 5, they have different clients. So they may be doing doing group training over here for corporate, but then they really like to coach executive female leaders who are looking to break through to the next level. And so because they can't identify one, neither of them find them.
Right. And so the key thing there is, we've talked a lot about narrowing your niche, identifying your avatar, understanding your competitive landscape, building a value ladder. That's specific to a buyer. Now, it doesn't mean you can only have one type of buyer, but for each buyer, that journey is different. So you've got to understand that there needs to be a value ladder for each type of client you serve. That may be different because they've got different needs and a different background and different perspective on what value is. By the way, it doesn't have to be 5 steps, could be 3 steps. I've seen a great funnel that was essentially a 2-step value ladder for career coaches. This is one of the most simple ones that I've seen. And it's simply product 1 is pay me as your coach to analyze your LinkedIn or review your resume or help you update your resume. And product 2 is some career coaching. So for people that are in a very specific window of time, they're active job seekers, simplifying that funnel makes a lot of sense. And you might find the same thing. But in general, we err on the wrong side. We err on too few steps, not too many. So these are some components of your irresistible offer. What kind of deliverables are included? So what will they walk away with? What tangible things do they take with them? What are the features? In other words, what are the components, right? And then the benefits really is more what's in it for them. So what are the benefits for the client of taking your irresistible offer? Bonuses. If I buy this, do I also get that, right? So if I buy your coaching, or if I sign up for your masterclass, do I also get this e-course and your book and maybe something else? You got to be clear on price and terms. Risk reduction. Risk reduction is something like this. If you're not happy, I'll give you your money back. That's risk reduction, right? Further risk reduction is, don't worry, this is totally confidential. You don't have to worry about your employer learning about this. Scarcity. I've only got 10 spots available. Now, you don't want to artificially, throw out some fake scarcity thing because people pick up on that pretty quickly. But identify where scarcity exists and communicate that. If you're doing a masterclass, it makes sense that you would only have room enough for a group the size that you can handle and add value for, right? So that's a natural point of scarcity. If you're kicking off, if you're doing an open enrollment group training, Scarcity might be time, right? Our training is next Thursday, so you got a limited number of time to sign up. We got some pre-work you got to do, so if you don't sign up by Wednesday, okay, that's urgency as well, but scarcity can be a time component as well. So anyway, so any questions about that so far? So, okay, I know I've talked in pretty general terms, right? And I know for some of you, the concept of a funnel is still kind of new.
Well, if you're having a panic attack, you might be in the right place. I'm just going to say.
So I'm going to walk you through some examples of funnels, okay? Now, keep in mind, what I'm showing you is maybe just one or two steps in a funnel, right? And maybe just one or two, you might only see one or two of the product offerings in that value ladder. But I just did a search on Google for career coach in New York, just to see what comes up. And this is, I'll give you a couple of tips on this. When you start going out and researching funnels, anytime you see that does everyone know the difference on Google results between a paid result and an organic result? Okay.
Not really.
So organic results mean if you if you look something up on Google, the things that Google's algorithm picks up as being the most relevant are organic search results. And that's based on the content of the millions of websites out there and web pages out there, and how well that content aligns to what you're looking for, as well as things like how many people are referencing that content and linking to that content, suggesting that it's an original source or valuable content. That affects how something naturally or organically shows up in Google search results. There's a way that many people shortcut that. If they want to show up at the top of results, they just pay to be in that position. So everywhere, Google does disclose this, but they don't do it really blatantly. But you see this little ad tag on the left, right under Korn Ferry and right under New York #1. Everywhere you see an ad on Google, that means someone's paying to be in that position. As a marketer, and you're all now marketers because you've got your own business, right? It's really helpful to pay attention to this, because when people are paying to advertise, that probably means people are paying for that service, right? They wouldn't keep advertising and spending money on it if they didn't have clients coming through that channel. So in this case, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 people who have currently bid and paid for ads for anytime someone searches career coach in New York. So let's go click on this one, NYC Mind Lab. It's an ad.
I love that name of that company.
Okay, so here we are. This takes me to Dr. Sydney Ceruto, career coach, New York City. What are some things that you notice?
She promises to like bootstrap you in 90 days. She's got a clear timeline. So
she's making a big promise, right? Her hook, her bait is you're going to get a whole year of value in just 90 days. What's she asking you to do? Sign up for a newsletter. Okay, well, that's not the strongest call to action, but it's an example.
But she uses social proof by saying thousands join every week.
Right, right. So she's giving you a little bit more insight into what kind of moments this might help, right? Here's another call to action. A call to action is anytime you as the consumer are asked to do something. If I click here, this is going to take me to her online calendar to book a consultation. So that's her other offer, right? So she's kind of got 2 or 2.5 offers on this page. But this is kind of an example of what a landing page is. A landing page is different than a website. A website is what people will get when they find your website organically. A landing page is a marketing page designed for a specific audience with a specific offer. And landing pages most commonly are the first or second step in your funnel. So go ahead, Rhonda.
Most coaches build their website first to create credibility because that's what they think they need, and that's probably not what they need at all.
Well, the problem with the website is it requires the customer to think too much, right? Mm-hmm. And it assumes that all customers will want the same thing. Landing pages can be created fast. They can be modified easily. You can create as many landing pages as you want so that every different type of client coming to you for every different type of offer has their own unique custom experience. She knows that when people get to this page, they have just Googled career coach in New York. Only those people will get to this page. So she can totally customize the language for that. So she starts giving you more descriptions. This is called social proof. Anytime there's reviews, right? Customer reviews are social proof. Clients desperately rely on social proof when they make a decision to hire you. Aaron, the fact you've got 48 reviews on SOAR, goldmine. Because every time I talk to clients who come to SOAR, I ask them, what are you looking for when you choose between a coach? Number one is reviews, and number two is your video. So they want to get to know you, and they want to see social proof. Here's more social proof. These are, places she's been featured, right? So social proof can be individual consumers rating and reviewing her, or it can be other kind of social validation, like I'm on the news. So anyway, here's some more social proof. So it's not a bad experience, right? But let's think about this in terms of the funnel. So if we were to go back to that funnel that we talked about, this is at the stage when they're kind of looking, right? When someone's looking for a career coach, they're going to Google it. They're going to maybe start to get here. And then the learning phase starts on this landing page, but really continues as they subscribe to her newsletter, right? So part of that learning is going to happen over time, incrementally, through emails and newsletters, maybe subscribing to her blog. Doing a phone consultation is one way that her clients are vetting her and learning and assessing. And then all of that needs to happen before they get to the buy decision. So oftentimes just adding some touch points where you can build trust, build social proof, build clarity, educate them on how to work with you and what you do will accelerate the buying process amongst your clients. By the way, it's a heck of a lot more natural and comfortable to sell in this way than to try to propose on the first date, right? Mm-hmm. If instead of saying, oh, look, here's my package, at the coffee shop, you say, you send them a text after with the link to your landing page, a lot less invasive, a lot more self-control for clients, more natural learning path, a lot more comfort. And they start to say, wow, you've got your stuff together. Look at how clear this messaging is. Look at how simple it is to get involved. Look at these other people who have had great benefits. Mm-hmm. So that's just one example.
Can I stop you for just a second, Clint?
Yeah.
Because a couple of questions are coming in. Aaron is asking, are those all built in WordPress or a like site? They can be. You have to ask somebody to do them. But then the other one is, Alan is saying, so your landing page isn't your website's front page?
No, typically not. Typically not. It can be. What some people do is they insert a landing page as a redirect from their homepage, so that when visitors come to their website, they first see a landing page, get really clear messaging, and then they can back out of that to explore the rest of your website. But most commonly, landing pages are not even navigable from your website. The landing pages are only presented to people coming from specific sources. So when I put a new ad on Facebook and it goes to a targeted audience with a specific offer, I'm going to create a landing page just for that. And those people get a very seamless experience coming to me. If I'm going to do an ad on Google and it's maybe a different audience or a different moment in time, I know they're searching actively for something, then I'm going to have a different landing page experience and a different journey for those same clients. But they can those two landing pages can lead to the same funnel where I continue to nurture and educate and build a relationship with those people and step them up my value ladder. But that first moment in time, typically a landing page is highly customized. So, we've got dozens of landing pages we use at SOAR. Many coaches will have several, right? Not to be intimidated by that. You don't have to have 5 or 10. But when you do build a landing page, just make sure it's very specific to one audience, keeping in mind where they're coming from and what the context is that they're coming to you. Because if you put a landing page up with an offer and that interrupts their natural other activity. So let's say that they're thinking they're looking for something else, and you interrupt that by bringing them to a landing page that isn't in context, then you're just going to frustrate people. But if you know that they're looking for something and anticipating an experience, and you match your landing page experience to that, then it feels like they got exactly where they were looking to go, and you perfectly met their expectations.
Yes, Aaron, they can.
And people typically don't use WordPress for landing pages. There's when I talked about marketing automation and tools that are available today, the best one, in my opinion, is ClickFunnels. There's also Lead Pages, and there's probably dozens of other landing page tools. For folks in our bootcamp, we build their landing pages and host them on our tool, so they don't need a landing page solution.
Don't need a website solution, none of that.
Right. Mm-hmm. That just comes included.
If you pay attention to your own patterns of behavior, you'll start to notice that you do not hit websites for long. You're hitting landing pages.
Yeah. Definitely.
Really. Mm-hmm.
So there's a ton more I can cover. I know we've only got a few more minutes, so maybe I'll stop sharing and just get some questions and feedback from the group.
Whose head is spinning? It's all good. Mine. What kind of questions, if you can put them in the chat box, or open up your mic if anyone would like to have tell me. The ones through SOAR, how do they navigate? Tell me more about, open up, Aaron. Can you open up your line?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Hi. Thank you. No, I'm just curious how those are navigatable. So I know through WordPress or any of the others, you can set custom landing pages for what you're speaking to, but through SOAR, you're doing that and creating that landing page. Do you tie those through an already existing website? And then the second part of that question, if I'm understanding it, for your example, for the career coach in New York, when somebody clicks on that clickbait or what have you to go to that landing page, when you look up in the navigation bar, is that website one that would be, like, for instance, if it was mine, it would say Aaron Bentley Consulting, or does it say something random not tied to the website? Does that make sense?
So, yeah, so the way it works is it actually sits on a different domain. But for example, we've got a number of domains specific for landing pages. So one of them is coach.soar.com instead of just soar.com or, careers.soar.com, right? And so in terms of the navigation, the reason that you might not want that navigable from your homepage is you might have offers that you want to put out to specific audiences, but not to the general person that comes to your website. So typically we send people to landing pages from an ad or from a specific social post or from a specific email, right? Or some other specific, activity. We might, another way is if you're public speaking, right? You might say, hey, go to this website, and you just use a super simple URL they can get to, or text me at this number and I'll send you a link. And so in those cases, these are people who, because you know enough about them and because you've targeted them closely enough, you know that you can give them a better, tight experience than they will get by just going to your website.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Who else has a question? You can open up your mic. That'd be great because I have lost control of the chat box, which has been very painful for someone like me.
Who,
Hi,
oh,
this is Elizabeth. How do we learn more about the 13-week boot camp?
So the best way is just to schedule some time with me. If you send me an email, clint@soar.com.
Okay.
Then I can walk you through the program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You bet. All right. So what else? Anybody else?
So my target audience is frontline to mid-level managers. And like even on SOAR.com, in order to hit that target audience, the only grouping that comes close to that is executive coaching. I don't really want to do executives. I want manager coaching. Yeah. So is there a way to, in researching management coaches, there's not much there.
Yeah, so as far as the categories on SOAR, Alan, those are going to continuously update, and they're based on the volume of people coming and searching for different categories.
Okay.
For your landing page and for your targeting, you're going to want to focus on that, mid. Now, what I would think about if I were you is, when is the moment in time for a new or mid-level manager when you could add the most value, right? Is it the moment they just got promoted? Or is it the moment when they've had big turnover on their team, or there's dramatic change happening in their organization? Or is it a moment when they're just getting their performance results and they're way behind, so they got to step up their game a lot?
Well, it could be multiple. So definitely, yeah.
Totally. So for each one of those moments, put yourself in the mind of that client. Depending on that moment, they're going to have different needs, different pain points, and different messaging is going to resonate. So for a starting place for your funnel, I would pick one of those moments that you think is the most common, that you think you could do the most good, have the most impact at, and say, okay, if you've just become a manager for the first time in your career, then I'm the right person for you, right? That's the kind of clarity that I would encourage you to get to, and then build all of your messaging around that manager. What are they thinking? Well, they might be feeling overwhelmed. They might be really eager to go, and maybe that pent up ambition is going to come across the wrong way to their team, right? But think about those dynamics and then message around those and keep it laser tight for that audience before you start expanding to other moments and other types of managers.
Okay.
So imagine, I want to just add to that, Alan, imagine if you're a new manager and you just got promoted and you're scared. That's really how they're feeling right now. They're anxious. They don't know, you don't know what kind of situation. But what if they were to run across the internet because they're out there searching somewhere, and they all of a sudden see something that says 5 steps to ensure your success as a new manager?
Okay.
That's just an example of stepping into their story exactly where they are in this moment of time. And that's the challenge for us, I believe, as coaches, is that we don't know our ideal client well enough to know where exactly we're stepping in their story. We're just like, come on, you're breathing. I need to coach you. And this is why we keep failing, because we're taking that for a one-on-one, and then all of a sudden we get a phone call and a referral for us to go do a big group of 30 people. Right? And so we never focus in and zero in on what's really important to the person that we want to make an impact on. And that person really is one person who is duplicated a bazillion times out there, you see? Right. But if you can narrow it to that one and really figure this out. And what we do is we put something out there and we don't get the results, and we're like, well, that's it. We go take that other gig instead of going, okay, hold on, I don't have the right messaging. And see, through testing with SOAR in these funnels, they're going to be able to figure out, okay, they're clicking on your link here, but they're dropping your video halfway through.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that's the beauty about having systems. So instead of using a ClickFunnels or using some of the video tools or whatever, you get data and insight into your clients you've never had before. And that is probably the most powerful thing about having a technology enabled funnel, is you can learn instantly what's working, what's not working. You can make improvements, you can change messaging, you can improve the offer, all based on real data, not based on what your gut instinct is telling you. And that makes all the difference.
All the difference.
Yeah.
And who better do you want doing data analyzing than people who are techie geniuses and who are familiar and know coaching? I think this has been my biggest delight in finding the people at SOAR, is because I know that you guys know what you're doing for me. And I'm not just going to a marketing person who doesn't really understand you know, what I'm trying to accomplish. So anyway, it's exciting stuff. Who else has more questions? Clint, did you have something else you wanted to add? I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say, you know, this can be overwhelming, and I've spent 20 years marketing, right? So don't feel too discouraged if this doesn't feel natural to you. Hopefully you've gotten some nuggets out of this that are helpful, and there's help for you there. So, you know, just one step at a time, and feel free to reach out for help.
Yep.
Because what you do is so important, and the world needs it. And the world, you know, there are human beings out there whose lives can improve as you improve your ability to connect with them through marketing.
And if you don't do it, then who? Great to have you guys on today. If you have any questions, let me know. You can reach Clint at clint@soar.com. And I will be putting this out as a replay within 48 hours. And so you'll get it. You can watch it again, screenshot, take more notes, whatever it is that you need to do. Yes, continued important information, absolutely. And so thank you all, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you soon.